All right, so here we go. Today we're going to take a look at working a little bit with the Helm Synth, which is a great free synthesizer from Matt Title. It can do just all kinds of fun stuff, especially for being a free synth. So I've already got a little bit of a patch built here. Threw in a little melody. Pull this up so you can see what it is. Come on, there we go. And so there it is, pretty simple. And that's the idea. Pull this back down. And so what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to recreate that basic synth and then take it a couple steps further beyond there so that you can start getting a sense of how to do some sound design yourself using synthesizers. So let's begin. So first things first, we need to get our Helm synth onto a MIDI track. So we'll go ahead and select a MIDI track, and then I'm going to go over into my plugins category over here. And then once we're in plugins, you should see a list. If you don't see a list of plugins, it's possible that you haven't told Ableton you want to see plugins. So you have to go up to Live, Preferences, and then under this File Folder tab right here, you'll want to make sure that Use Audio Units is turned on. Make sure you only click that once because sometimes it takes a moment before it's got to scan through the plugins, so it might not light on right away. So click it just once and then wait for it to light up. And then, if you've also got VST plugins in your system, you can use that as well. But for our purposes now, everything we're using is audio units. So make sure that's on. And then you can rescan. I found that it tends to be a little more, tends to work a little better if you just restart live altogether once you've done that. So we've already done that. So now that we are in our plugins category, I'm going to just go into my search here and type Helm. And we'll see that it's under Matt Title. And there we go. We just double click on it. And now we have Helm pulled up. So I'm going to be constantly bouncing back and forth between this new one that we're working in and the one that I already built. So I'll pull that one up too. So when you see it on the left side, that's the one that's already built. I called it Dirty Bass Filter Envelope. And then if I click to the right here, now we're looking at the one that we're actually building in the first place. So here's what it looks like with the preset that I've already got. So that's what it looks like. We're going to duplicate, actually we're just going to move this over to here, and then now we can hear what it sounds like with just the default patch. Not the most interesting thing in the world, right? So our goal then is to more or less recreate this general idea over here, and then also take it another step further from there. So now that we've got our synth pulled up, let's go ahead and begin starting to recreate that basic sound. So as with most synthesizers, we're going to begin with the oscillator section because the oscillator is what creates the sound, it's what generates the waveform. And you'll see that we've got two different oscillators in Helm, and we can, if we just click right on the waveform, you'll see that it will cycle through lots of different waveforms. Let me just play this so we can hear the difference. And actually right now we're hearing both oscillators at the same time because these two, which are both creating their own different waveforms, right, eventually feed down here into the mixer where we can control the balance between the two. So if I want to hear just oscillator 1, I pull the volume down there. There's our basic sine wave. There we go. And then let's just double check. I'm pretty sure I used one more step in that. There we go. And then oscillator 2 we'll set for, we'll just leave it as the ramp up sawtooth wave. And then we'll set our volumes roughly equal. And then let's move down into the unison section. So what's going on here is it's going to take this oscillator and put it out of tune just a little. It's going to duplicate it as many times as I choose here. So for example, I'll put this up to 3 or 5, and then it'll detune it, put it, each one of those copies out of tune by about 10 cents, anywhere between about 1 cent, 5 cents, 10 cents. So let's listen to this. There we go, cool. And if I recall, our original version over here is, yeah, I got 5 voices and 9 voices. That's what the V stands for. And then the harmonic button is also on as well, so we'll turn those on too. H, H, and 5 and 9, and then we should get something sounding like this. You'll notice how that makes it a whole lot grittier, right away. And then we're going to move into the middle section here, which is the cross modulation section. So what's going on here is this wave over here is going to modulate or change some aspect of this wave, and vice versa. This wave can change some aspect of this wave. I believe the way it's set up is that this one would modulate the phase of this one, and oscillator 2 would modulate the tone of this one. We're just going to pull this up just a little bit into this general area here. Some subtle changes going on there. And then finally, we've got the sub oscillator down here. And all the sub is it's a third oscillator, but it automatically plays an octave lower than whatever these two oscillators are playing. So you'll notice as I bring the sub up, if we listen to the sub by itself, it's a little chunky down in that really low range. So we're actually not really going to use much of the sub, if I recall. And if you needed to, you can click the negative octave button, and that'll bring it down even yet another octave below where it is currently. Yeah, so we'll leave the sub and the noise. So you've actually got a third oscillator in here, which is the noise generator. Right, so that just generates some white noise that you can beef up your sound with if you want. Finally, if you wanted to, you've got some transposition and tune features here. So transposition is moving it up or down by half steps. So 12 semitones would be an octave, 7 semitones would be a perfect fifth. That can be a cool sound, kind of that power chord, electric guitar sort of sound. And then tune is just fine tunings if we want to detune this. And generally, I mean, we've already got detuning going on with the extra voices over here. So the more detuning that you add, the thicker and the wider the sound tends to get, up to a point. Eventually, once I crank this up too much, it's just going to get nasty. All right, cool. So you get the idea. So that's our basic setup for our oscillators. From there, the sound is then going to go over into the feedback filter, and then the actual filter section itself. So we'll talk about that next.